All right, so I'm really excited here today to be joined by Dan and Kari Mennear from DK Digital. Now, about 12 months ago, Dan and I had the opportunity to sit down and explore his journey in going full-time in his agency. He had just left his full-time job to pursue that full-time. And not that long ago, he let us all know that his wife, Kari, here was also leaving her position full-time to pursue things in Dan's business and otherwise. So I was super excited to hear about that. I wanted to kind of pause and capture this moment in time because it's one thing for an agency owner to take their business full-time. It's another thing to be able to actually have other people on their team, and even more special that it's his wife, Kari. So guys, thanks so much for jumping in. I'm really looking forward to exploring all this with you today.
Great.
Thank you. We're happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you.
So Kari, I got to ask you first because last time Dan and I explored this, he had shared with us kind of a little bit that went into the decision making of Dan taking a pretty significant leap, something that was having his full-time position and taking that full-time. And he shared with us a little bit about your thought process, but I'd love to get your take on that. Like, what was that like? And was that scary, or was that like something that you just saw that it was going to be a natural fit for Dan, or like what happened there?
It's interesting that you asked me that, because it was in the beginning, I was like super nervous, and we talked about a plan about having a reserve in case there were some like slow months, that type of thing. But there was particularly one day when it just kind of changed from that I needed to let go of the control and to kind of have this sense of it's just going to work out, and have that, I guess, faith that it will continue. And since that time, I've never looked back, and he's just continued to progress forward and has done good, and I haven't had fear since then.
Yeah, I imagine kind of going into it that like Dan, we both know that he's a really talented guy. He does what he says. Clients love him, and there's still, even with all these things like looking right, there still could be that moment of like, can we really pull this off? Can we really make that happen, right?
But we try to focus on the positive. We try to focus on the outlook and keep moving forward. And I feel like that's been our strategy, is to just keep going and plugging away. And I know that for him, he always is motivated after meeting with people in the group or coaching clients and stuff, and it just keeps him motivated to want to keep going.
I know that for me, taking big leaps in my businesses over the years, having the support of my wife has been incredibly important. I know that there's been times where she's seen things in me that I wasn't seeing in myself or ready to see in myself, and I know that's been really huge along the way. So Dan, when we spoke last year, you had just made the transition into full time. Tell me about what this last year has looked like in preparation to what's recently happened with Kari leaving her job.
Well, it was January of last year that we left the day job, and we had made plans 6 months. 4 months before that to actually do that. And so we had been preparing and had built up our reserves to make sure we're able to handle that. And so I moved forward in January after I left, just knowing that, hey, there's money that can help me last for another 6 months if I bomb completely, right? If I can't sell a single thing, I can at least last for 6 months. And so that left me with confidence moving forward, and so I just kept trying. Now, I had a good January, February, but I think things actually started slowing down for me in March and April and May. I was getting a little bit nervous. The sales were slowing down, and that reserves really was dwindling, and so. I went through a really slow time there, and I'm still trying to remember what was causing that, but basically the sales were not happening.
I remember.
Okay.
He had went through all of his leads that he knew, his warm leads.
Oh, that's right.
And then he realized that the people he was contacting were cold calls, and he was struggling. And so he came to realize that he needed different strategies on meeting people and trying to create more warm calls.
Yeah. So after that, we adjusted how we were reaching out, and started training people from the Small Business Development Center, and we started kind of warming people up in different ways, and now the sales have just started happening. And so I went through a kind of a slow period, and then a ramping up, and now things are going so well that Kari quit her job in December, and she's working with me full time now. So now we're doing well.
Congratulations. So Kari, so now that you're working full time in the agency, what areas are you focused in on?
Well, I was a little nervous, to be honest, because I'm not really a marketer, and I thought that's not my strategy. But he said, but organization is, and I need you to organize and keep me on track. And so it's still a work in progress. We're figuring out what exactly everything that I cover, but so far it's been good covering all the office stuff, the finances, a bit of account management, things like that.
A lot of the back office things. It's trying to help me stay focused. Just the other day, she helped me realize that we hadn't sent a bill out for the last 6 months for one of those annual payments that they got in a year and a half instead of a year. Right. So she's helping me stay on track and keeping the money coming in.
Right. So like finding efficiencies in the business already just by having an extra set of eyes. Deciding to leave your job, Kari, was that something you intended to do like a year ago when Dan left his? Was that kind of on the roadmap for you, or was that something that like kind of came as a result of seeing what Dan was doing?
So in August, because I work in the school district, or I did, and in August before I was to go back, he was telling me how busy he was, and he's like, "Don't go back, stay, work with me." And I went, "What? Are you crazy? No, I'm going back." And I did go back. I just felt like there were things that I needed to finish. But as I watched him continuing to progress, and he's like, "I'm going to be so busy," or "I have this going on and this," I could see the need. I knew that he needed my help, and I was able to kind of come to terms with, okay, it's time to close that chapter of my life and start a new one working with Dan. So come December, it was a bittersweet because I was sad to leave the people I worked with, but it's super exciting to start this new adventure.
She's probably more excited for the flexibility of not showing up on an 8 to 5 job.
I do like that a lot.
I'll bet your daily routines have changed considerably. I'd imagine, right?
Yes, for sure.
That's awesome. So I imagine the folks. It sounds like you were really close to the people that you were working with. Like, how did they react to the news that you were going to be leaving and jumping in with what Dan was doing?
Are you sure you can work with him? Literally, that was what everybody said. Is a lot of like husbands and wives don't really work well together, and my thoughts were, well, we work really well together, and I think it will work out. And if it doesn't, then at that point we'll see what happens. Whether I go find a different job or I don't work at all. And either way, I think it's going to be a win-win for me.
And any tips or strategies that you guys have kind of put into play that have led to your guys successfully working together? Because I know that there are a lot of people, my wife and I work together in a lot of amazing ways, but I also wonder how we would work together in the business. Yeah. And I think we're both glad to have our own domains of things that we're working on.
Tips, I think, we're not experts because we're definitely still trying to figure out on our own, but I think in my mind, if I can give her a task that she knows what she can do and how to do it, once she becomes fully comfortable with each of those tasks, then it will just be an easy thing to say, those are the tasks that need to be done. And actually, I wouldn't even have to say it. She would just take care of them. And so I think sooner or later, we'll be getting to that point. For right now, it's just trying to help her understand and learn. So the way that we can communicate well together the way that we do well together is by communicating. right? We have to make sure we're talking, this is talking business. Okay, now let's leave the office and now let's go on a date. And
Right.
now let's not talk business. And so having separation and having good communication is what's helping right now, I think.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. Communication and I try to keep him like either every evening or at least once a week. Okay, go over the clients with me so I know where you're at, so we can be on the same page, really, because I think there's a lot of things that get stuck in his head that he forgets to share. So to just kind of have that powwow meeting to go over clients is really helpful.
Yeah, it's one of those things where right now I think, Dan, you're discovering all the systems in your business that are running, but they just happen to be running inside your head at the moment, right?
Right,
That
exactly.
there is a process, there is a way of doing things. It's just that in order for someone on the outside to understand what it is that needs to get done, you have to extract it out of your brain and help someone else to explore that. I know that I experienced that a lot when I brought in my first team members, that I'd be shocked or surprised when something wouldn't be done correctly or the way that I was expecting it to be done, only to learn that really it wasn't their fault. It was that it was all buried in the way that I had done things. And truth be told, I was doing things one way this time and another way this time and a third way a different time, depending on the client that was coming in. And so it became a really obvious thing when suddenly there was other people outside of myself. And it sounds like that's maybe the journey that you're maybe starting on right now and starting to realize, right?
Yes, absolutely. It's all in the head, and yeah, sometimes there's not a clear cut way of doing it, and you're right. It does depend on the clients and the situation. But yeah, we're trying to get some of those things documented so we can actually hire we have hired a digital marketing coordinator to help with the account management, and so suddenly I realize how much is in my head.
Mm-hmm.
That she's not right here next to us, and the only way she's going to know what to do is if she can see that somewhere, and I've got to document it and get it all down.
What advice would you give to someone else who may be looking to kind of go on that same journey that you have, right? Like maybe they're working their job full time right now and want to take their agency full time. Maybe they have the desire to employ their spouse or even retire their spouse so that way they can leave the job that they're currently in. Any advice that you'd give to somebody in that position?
If you're wanting to leave the day job, my advice is you got to create the plan to and so that you both feel confident in that plan. And so whatever it is, we made the plan to say, hey, we want to have 6 months of reserves sitting in the account before we pull the trigger. And that confidence that's what we had. It allowed me to move forward, and money wasn't it wasn't a what's the word? It wasn't a struggle for the first little time. I wasn't worried about it, right? I wasn't worried about making sales. That wasn't a stress. I was able to move forward with confidence, having that plan in place and having her support. So that's what we were trying to do. So if you're wanting to leave a job, create the plan that works for both of you, and then that'll give you confidence in taking those steps.
And I think it also helped that when he was working with clients, they could see that he really was sincere in what he was telling them and teaching them rather than desperation, which would come if you didn't have any money in reserves.
I think you're right. I think that translates to clients. If they feel that there's something uncertain, they may not be able to pinpoint why it is that there's a kind of a weird vibe or weird energy about it. But certainly, I think as Craig on our team, who used to work in car sales, is that the client can smell commission breath, right? We always get a good laugh at that, right? That if they can sense that there's a lot riding on you saying yes, and that's all about the money, that becomes a situation where that they're starting to wonder whether this is the right move for them and can really destroy a deal and blow up a business.
Getting that through my head is what has really helped the last 6 months really grow, is that I really was able to just step back and say, look, here it is, and take it or leave it. And I'm not worried about whether you leave it or not. And so that, I think that is confidence that just comes across to clients, and they're able to, or potential clients, and they're able to say yes because of that confidence. They really have, they're making an investment in you and your business and what you're saying that you can do, but they have no knowledge, right, of what you can do unless you can actually show them that confidence. You have to help them overcome the skepticism and reduce red flags. And so you do that with confidence as you move forward. And it's, if you can step back and say, well, here it is, and if you can do it, great. If you can't, then let's talk in 6 months. If you have that confidence moving forward, then it's a lot easier for the client to say yes, and that's helped me quite a bit.
So as we wrap up here today, guys, what can you share with us about kind of the future plans of the agency? What do you see this kind of coming year look like as you roll into kind of this new moment in time where you guys are working side by side?
Well, my goals are to get a digital marketing coordinator on board that's can take over all of the account management for me, so that I can focus more on sales. And that will allow me to have more time with the kind of the back office and help Kari a little bit. And ideally, that we have a little bit more time on our end to do the other things that we want to do, knowing that the business is working and it's growing, and we could easily scale. My belief is that we should double this year. We've already doubled what we've done last year, so we're going to double again what we've done this year, and just keep growing and scaling. Ideally, we have 2 or 3 digital marketing coordinators working for us by the end of the year, and so that's really freed up more time for our end to focus. And I realize I don't have to have a ton of sales every day. I need 1 or 2 sales every week, and if I have some good sales every week, that keeps us pretty busy, and so that will actually free up a lot more of my time. What else?
Well, I was just thinking, a few years ago, I remember having a conversation with him, and he was saying the things that he loved the most was marketing and teaching, and he was deciding if he should go back to school to become a professor or continue with marketing, and now it's exciting because he gets to do both. He's teaching people about marketing and helping their businesses, and seeing the excitement that they have, going, whoa, I wish I knew this in the very beginning, or oh my gosh, you just taught me so much in such a short amount of time. I think that's what's really satisfying for Dan, and for me to watch him. And so that's what keeps him motivated on wanting to help people. And I think with that, giving back that, it's just the business is going to continue, and it's just going to grow and be great that way.
I just want to say, guys, that I'm super proud of you both. Dan, it's been really cool to see your journey. And like I said, when I heard that Kari was making the leap, I just couldn't have been more excited for the both of you, knowing that you guys each have such a care and love for your agency and the clients that you serve, that your goals are within reach, and honestly, the sky's the limit. And I'm just really excited to see where you're going, and couldn't be more excited for you.
Thank you. Yeah, we're super excited.
All right, guys. Well, you heard it here. Dan and Kari creating a business that's on purpose and by their design, and just really excited to share their story with you. So thanks for watching here today.